Sure, action figures were a lot of fun as a kid, but what about racetracks? Let's take a look at some TV-themed racetracks from the 70s and 80s. Welcome back to the Junkman. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you with another video. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about toy racetracks, or some of you may call these slot car racing. I see that a lot on the box, and when I was searching for these, that came up a lot, but I don't remember ever calling these things slot car racetracks or using the term slot car. Now, there was a word I used similar to that, but that was in high school, and that's a whole different story. So I never really heard the term slot car. I don't know why. I guess it was in the South we didn't call it that, or maybe just as a kid we just didn't hear that. So maybe you called it that, but we didn't. We always just referred to these as racetracks. Now, we're going to stick to TV-themed ones because I didn't really see that many movie ones. But, of course, we do have the Duel of the Death Star Star Wars one right here. Yep, doesn't that look really cool? But we're going to talk about it tomorrow at 5 o'clock, so we'll save that for later. And again, I didn't see any really movie ones. Most of these were TV themes. But before we get into looking at the TV themes, let's just talk about the racetracks yourself. First off, you're always really excited to get these for your birthday or Christmas, but it seems like they've never held up the excitement that you thought they would. It seems like after about an hour, you were tired of them because they kept popping off the track. You would have to go hit them a little bit to put them back on the track, or they would fly off the track completely onto the floor. It would take you an hour or something to set them all up, and by the time you got everything, all the connectors all done, your mom would call you for supper. You had to take it all apart, put it back in a box if you didn't have nowhere nice to. I mean, this took up a lot of room, these racetracks. It was just never as good as you thought they were going to be in your head. Like I said, they kept popping off the track a lot. They wouldn't, they would get stuck on the track. It just wasn't as fun as the commercials made them look. Now let's take a look at some tracks. This one's here probably like 60s. This is a generic track. When you bought a track in the 70s and 80s, though, you probably got something like this. This is just a generic track right here, so we can move on. We're going to move on to one I wanted for Christmas back in the 80s so bad, and here it is. I wanted this thing, and I got it, and guess what? It didn't work. This was a racetrack that went up on the side of the wall, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever till I got it. I never could get it to go up around the wall. Never could. Now, I talked to some of you guys that said you had this, and it went up the wall, everything like the commercial did, but maybe I was doing it wrong. Maybe I had it on the wrong kind of wall. Maybe I didn't have enough speed. I don't know. It never would have worked for me, and I was very disappointed when I got this. It's one of those toys that you just could not wait to get, and then you were disappointed when you did get it. Now, there was a racetrack in the 70s that I know I wanted, my brother wanted, my friends wanted, everybody wanted this, but I never saw anyone with one. And let's check this one out. Look at this thing. It's like two towers and round circles at the top of the race. This thing looks awesome. I bet it doesn't work at all. I bet they fall. I just can't imagine this thing actually doing what it's supposed to do. But maybe you had this or seen this. Maybe you're like, no, it works. But I remember this ad because I was like, that racetrack set is so cool. You have to wear hard hats while you play with it. This is extreme racing. I wanted it so bad. Now, the one I do remember having is one a lot of you guys probably had was the Richard Petty track. This is just a generic racetrack. I guess generic, not but by generic, I mean this is probably the most common racetrack. Even if it's not Richard Petty, this is the track that everybody had. This would make a whole bunch of different tracks. You can do like 4 to 6 different tracks, I think. And I remember this one, Richard Petty. Growing up in the South, I wasn't really into NASCAR and everything, but everybody knew Richard Petty in the 70s and 80s. STP, right? STP. You couldn't grow up and not know Richard Petty. And I can remember I had this one in the little 43 car, STP on it and everything. Really liked this one here. But now let's get into the TV-themed racetracks. And we'll start with Gobots. Can you believe they made Gobots racetrack? Yep, a racetrack or slot car racing. I guess they do fit in a slot. I can understand. I guess that's why they call it that. But Gobots. Now, I mean, I don't know much about Gobots. To me, they're always kind of like a rip-off Transformers, although I know Gobots came first. But, I don't know, it just always seemed like a step down Gobots did. So let's move on to another one. Miami Vice, one of the best cocaine-related cop shows of the 80s. And thanks to Galoob, you could have a Magnum Vice. Miami Vice. What do they call this one? HO slot racing. Now, that's a new term right there. What is a ho slot racing? I know what a ho... Never mind. But here it is. This one's got kind of the Miami background in the back and got some little cardboard displays to make it like you're in the city. Pretty nice little cool touch, if you ask me. Way to go, Miami Vice. And I'll be honest, I've never seen one episode of Miami Vice. It must have came on at the same time 18 was on, or maybe Magnum or Riptide. Something came on. Could have even been Tales of the Gold Monkey. I don't know. Something was on when Something was on when Miami Vice was on, so I never did get to see it. Let's see but this is a show I did get to see, The Fall Guy. I didn't know they made this, but man, I would have begged for this just to have the truck out of it. The Fall Guy. Well, who is the Fall Guy? You don't know who the Fall Guy is? Well, he's Colt Seavers. That's right, Colt Seavers. He's an unknown stuntman that makes Eastwood look so fine. And a lot of people say he looks like the $6 million man, but I just don't see it. But here it is. It's just kind of a generic track. It's not anything really special. But hey, you get Colt Seavers' truck, and that's all you need. Now, it comes with another little car. I don't think it's Howie's car, but I could be wrong. Let's see what else. Oh, look. Transformers had one, and they did transform. A little robot would stand up top of the car, and I bet this thing flipped over going around curves. I can't imagine a racing with the robot sticking up. I just can't see that. I bet that didn't work good at all. Let's go back to probably the late 70s, early 80s with one that makes sense. A great one to have. Chips. That's right. The California Highway Patrol themselves. Ponch and John. Not later in the series. I think one of them left and they replaced it kind of like the Dukes of Hazzard did with the cousins. But I like this one here because you can do a high-speed chase with it. One was a motorcycle, one was a car. So you could have it, you could have the motorcycle come up to the car, have both controllers in hands. I used to love that little clicking sound. It was like a little metal sound. When you know what I'm talking about? You do the triggers. And, I used to love that. But you could have them, merge into each other. And like, pull over. Screw you, copper. And then have them chase each other. So it was more than just a racetrack where you had to play with somebody and try to race them. This is pretty neat. And here's one I remember seeing at the store. Never had, but I would have loved to have it. The A-Team. What a great one here. And although the track's kind of generic, it was cool to have the van. This one needed something more. This was the A-Team we talking here. You should have had a ramp. You should have had some kind of barn you ride through and bust out the back wall. Maybe a round flame that you jump through. It needed something for the A-Team. It needed something more of a kick. Now it does say here it has real chase and jumping. So I guess there was a ramp. Looking at the track, I can't really see a major ramp. It looks like, it's got some little plastic ramps. Boring. We need a space of track. We need track missing or something. We need something where you jump really good. This one could have been a lot better. Then let's go over to another TV cartoon related one. Thundercats. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know Thunder. I've never seen Thundercats. Something about Thundercats, just don't like the look of it. It's a pretty cool looking race car here. I just never got into Thundercats. It's just the name of them. I've never been a cat person, and I don't know. Just everything about Thundercats just makes me. I don't know what it is. So let's move on here. Sorry if you're a Thundercats fan. It's nothing personal. And here's one I didn't have as a kid, but again, I would have loved to have because I was a big fan of the television show, The Dukes of Hazzard. And this is it. That's it right there. You see them, Bo, Luke, right there on the box. Who else is on that box? Boss Hogg. Boss Hogg is on that box. Who else is on it? You guessed it. Who's that girl with the Daisy Dukes on? Well, that's Roscoe P. Coltrane. And also in the box is the Daisy Duke herself, Daisy Duke. Oh man, why isn't Enos on this box? I don't know. This came with a little cardboard setups of the city or town, I guess, of Hazzard County, I should say. And it does have a ramp that you go from one side to the other with the bottom track under it. So that's a nice little touch. Just to have the General Lee is a great touch. So this also, I would love to have the General Lee. And it comes with a police car. So again, you can do more than just racing. You can have them chasing each other down. Oh, get those moonshiners. And you can have, Duke boys slide across the hood and take off. A lot of fun. Anyway, that's a look at TV theme race sets, slot car racing toys, whatever you want to call them. What did the Dukes of Hazzard call it? Electric slot racing set. There we go. Let me know, did you have these? Were you like me where it took you an hour to set it up and then you play with it for 10 minutes? You're like, this isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be. Or did you play with it all day and night? They were a big part of my childhood. A lot of fun anyway. Not as big as action figures, of course, but they were a lot of fun. Anyway, let me know what you thought about racing sets in the comments below. And until the next video, thumb up so you like my content, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though. Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.